So I'm replying here because you can't stitch 3-minute videos. Gotta love how usable TikTok is. Anyway, you brought up a bunch of good points about how certain moves in fighting games are balanced around the way you execute them. I'm aware of that. I'm saying they shouldn't be. Let's take the double quarter circles from Street Fighter. You said people are used to the double quarter circle motion, and that another motion might alienate them. You also said that quarter circle forward and 2 buttons are EX moves, so we couldn't use that. Let me ask you something. Did Dragon Ball FighterZ alienate Street Fighter players? Did Marvel? No, a lot of players shifted back and forth between those games just fine. No one said they couldn't play those games because they didn't have double quarter circles. But there are people who say they can't play Street Fighter style games because they can't learn double quarter circles. Also, there are plenty of inputs we just don't use. Like, if an EX move is a quarter circle and 2 buttons, then a super can be a quarter circle and 3 buttons. And you might say, well, doesn't that risk accidentally doing the EX? But Ultra Street Fighter 4 did it just fine. In fact, you had to do a double quarter circle and 3 buttons for Ultras, and it worked. Our technology is very good at determining what inputs people want to get. And if that's still an issue, think about diagonal inputs, like a punch and a kick. Or 2 punches and a kick. There's lots of inputs we haven't even looked into. And even if I were going to grant you that it would alienate some of the existing fan base, then give options. Allow it to be done via a double quarter circle, but also some easier way. That way, the toolset is accessible to everyone. And if the existing fan base says, well, the easy input has an advantage, they'll learn that input. Now let's talk about the Electric Wind Godfist. Very familiar, big Tekken fan. So you said it would be totally broken at 11 frames. I agree. And it's 14 frames because it takes 14 frames to execute. Why not just make it 14 frames? You also said that it can only be done from a crouch dash. Cool, make it only doable from a crouch dash. Any restriction you want to put on the move should be a property of the move, not a property of the inputs. Because if it is a factor of the inputs, we have a problem. That problem is that this tool, which is an important tool for these characters, one that you need to master to play these characters, is only accessible to people at higher rungs of skill. It might as well not exist to newbies. And that is hugely, hugely discouraging. To pros, it does not matter. Because I've watched plenty of Tekken tournaments, I've ran plenty of Tekken tournaments, people do not drop their EWGF inputs. Maybe once in a blue moon, but usually not. So the only people you are affecting are newbies. That's not a good balancing measure. Moves should be balanced for everyone regardless of their skill level. And if a balancing measure only affects newbies, then all you're doing is gatekeeping the game. All of the good parts about balancing via motions can be done via balancing in other ways.